The boutique shimmered in curated silence. Soft jazz hummed through hidden speakers. The walls were cream and gold. The air smelled like bergamot and quiet money. And behind the counter stood Ava. 23. Calm on the outside. Barely holding it in on the inside. She wore the uniform, sleek black blouse, neat black slacks, heels that pinched just enough to remind her she was replaceable. Her job wasn't to speak. It was to smile. It was to disappear behind politeness. Ava, her manager hissed quietly. Chin up. Posture. She adjusted her stance. In front of her, a woman examined a crocodile skin purse like it was beneath her. She wore sunglasses indoors. A minor actress. Someone from reality TV, maybe. Famous enough to make a scene. Do you even know how to pronounce Hermes? She asked without looking up. Ava blinked. Yes, ma'am. The woman laughed. Wow. Shocking. Ava smiled. So, controlled. The kind of smile that holds back years. The rest of the day dragged like that. Counts. Snaps. Eye rolls. No one saw Ava, not really, until she saw him. At the back table. A man. Sitting alone. Wearing a hoodie. Motorcycle helmet beside him. Still. Not scrolling. Not talking. Just observing. No one else noticed him. Not the shoppers. Not the staff. But Ava kept catching his gaze. Not intense. Not rude. Just present. And in a room full of people pretending, that was louder than any voice. Hours passed. The store emptied. Finally, the actress left, trailing perfume and sarcasm. The air relaxed. Ava stepped behind the counter, rubbing her wrists. That's when the man stood. He walked toward her. Quiet steps. Measured. She braced herself. He said nothing. Just placed a small shopping bag on the counter. Then turned to go. Sir, she called after him. You didn't. He looked back, a faint smile on his lips. No receipt needed. And left. She opened the bag. Inside, a pair of soft black flats. Her size. No tag. No note. Just a moment of relief and recognition. She stepped out to the door. He was already across the street. Helmet on. Gone. But Ava knew who he was. Keanu Reeves. And for the first time in months, she didn't feel invisible. The shoes fit perfectly. Ava tried them on the moment she got home. They were soft, elegant, silent on the floorboards. She walked 3 steps, then stopped. She stared at her reflection in the hallway mirror. And for a moment she saw someone else. Not the showroom ghost. Not the girl who smiled through insults. Someone real. Someone seen. She slipped them off, carefully, like they might vanish. It had to be a mistake, right? A random gift? A lost item? But the size. The timing. The man. The way he looked at her, like she was human, not background. It wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. She knew who he was. The longer she thought about it, the clearer it became. The beard, the stillness, the quiet grace. Keanu Reeves. Not with cameras. Not with an entourage. And somehow, he'd picked her out of everyone in the room. She didn't tell anyone. Not her roommate. Not her coworkers. She kept the shoes in the box, slid beneath her bed like treasure. The next morning she went back to work. Same boutique. Same floor. Same mirrored smiles. Her manager didn't mention anything about the bag. Maybe he hadn't seen. But when Ava checked the sales register, there it was. Guest purchase, paid cash. No receipt requested. No name. No signature. Anonymous. She worked the entire day scanning every corner of the store, hoping to see him again. But he didn't return. Still, something had changed. Customers spoke, and she still smiled. But something behind her eyes was different now. Not anger. Not rebellion. Confidence. Quiet but steady. You seem relaxed today, Maya, the other associate whispered between clients. Ava only smiled. I'm just tired of shrinking. The rest of the shift passed without drama. At closing, as Ava stacked perfume samples back onto the shelf, she found something tucked behind a bottle. A folded note. Her name on the outside. Written in small, steady handwriting. She looked around. No one there. Her hands shook slightly as she opened it. Don't let the world decide your worth. It has no idea what you carry. Ava folded it slowly, pressed it to her chest, and this time, she let herself cry. Ava returned the next morning with the note still in her coat pocket. She'd unfolded it 5 times before sunrise. The paper had softened around the creases. She'd memorized the words, but still needed to see them. She didn't wear the gifted shoes. Not yet. They stayed safe under her bed, untouched, waiting. Too special for the showroom floor. The boutique was slower than usual. No influencers. No stylists shouting into phones. Just silence, broken by polite murmurs and the soft clicks of designer heels. Her manager floated between racks, tapping her tablet. Maya handled a couple browsing watches. Ava moved quietly between tables, fixing displays. At 11:42 a.m., the bell over the door rang. Ava didn't look up. Not right away. She was arranging belts, pretending not to hope. Then she heard it, the sound of boots, not loafers. The kind that didn't try to impress anyone. She turned. There he was. Same hoodie. Same calm presence. Same helmet in one hand. He didn't speak. Didn't smile. Just gave a tiny nod, like they shared a secret. Ava's breath caught in her throat. She blinked, then quickly returned to arranging belts. She didn't want to draw attention. But her hands were suddenly useless. She kept picking up the same buckle. After a moment, he moved past her, slow, unhurried, and sat again at the same back table. No bag. No phone. No agenda. Ava waited. Minutes passed. Then, discreetly, she walked to the corner and filled a cup from the espresso machine. But no sugar. She placed it on a small tray and walked it over. She didn't ask if he wanted it. She didn't need to. He looked up as she approached. His eyes met hers. I thought maybe you'd come back, she said softly. He accepted the cup with both hands. I didn't forget you. Her throat tightened. You don't have to do this, she whispered. I know. They stood there, neither in a rush. Then, from behind, a voice cut through. Ava. It was her manager. Ava stepped back quickly. Yes. Need you up front. She nodded. Right away. When she turned back, the table was empty. The cup gone. Nothing left behind. Except one thing. Folded beneath the saucer was a second note. The world doesn't see stillness as strength. But it is. You don't need noise to be powerful. Ava pressed it between her palms. And smiled, the kind that didn't ask permission. By Friday, the boutique felt different. Not in any obvious way. The floors still shone, the perfume still floated, the rich still whispered complaints like they were prayers. But Ava walked through it differently. More centered. Not louder. Just more solid. She didn't shrink when someone snapped their fingers. She didn't stammer when asked to fetch a different color. She moved like someone who had a secret. And she did. 3 notes now. Each folded carefully and tucked between pages in her old paperback copy of The Bell Jar. The one she kept in her locker, untouched for months. Until now. Maya noticed first. You okay? She whispered during a lull. Ava glanced up. Why? It seemed like, I don't know. Like you're carrying something. Ava smiled. Maybe I am. That evening, just before closing, something unusual happened. The boutique went silent, completely. No music. No murmurs. Just the hum of overhead lights. The manager frowned, tapping her tablet. System glitch. Ava walked toward the front to lock the doors when she spotted it. A small box. Sitting on the bench outside the glass doors. Wrapped in brown paper. No ribbon. No card. She stepped out. The street was quiet. A single car passed. She looked both ways. No one. She bent down and picked up the box. It was light. Neatly wrapped. She brought it inside. Maya hovered nearby. What's that? Ava peeled back the paper slowly. Inside, a book. Hardcover. A little worn. The title etched in soft gold letters. Letters to the quiet ones. She opened it. The first page wasn't a publisher's note. It was handwritten. Not all voices shout. Not all heroes speak first. Some just stay. Keep staying. No address. No message. Just this. Ava sat down, right there on the bench. Maya stared. What is that? Ava traced the handwriting with her thumb. Proof, she whispered, that I exist. Saturday brought chaos. 2 influencer walk-ins. 1 bridal styling appointment. A husband loudly complaining about the price of a leather trench coat, while still buying it. The floor buzzed nonstop. Ava floated through it all. Focused, but not detached. She watched people now. Not with judgment, but with awareness. She noticed the way Maya always stepped in when customers grew rude. The way the manager bit her lip when no one was looking, clearly exhausted. The way Ava herself no longer felt afraid to stand still. At 3:06 p.m., he returned. Keanu. No helmet this time. Just the hoodie, a canvas bag over his shoulder. He walked in like a shadow. Unannounced, unbothered. Straight to the back table. Ava saw him the moment he entered. She didn't rush. She let him arrive fully. Let him sit. Only then did she approach, holding a cup of water. Still, no espresso. Just water today. She placed it gently on the table. He looked up. Nodded once. His voice was soft. Thank you. She sat across from him, uninvited but not unwelcome. You always sit in the same spot. Because it's not the center. She smiled. They didn't speak for a moment. Just silence. Ava broke it first. You know, you're not what I expected. Keanu's brow lifted slightly. What did you expect? More mystique. A bodyguard. Sunglasses indoors. He chuckled quietly. I don't wear sunglasses in boutiques. She leaned back. So why me? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into the canvas bag and pulled out something wrapped in tissue. He slid it across the table. She stared. Another gift? She asked. He shook his head. Not a gift. A tool. She opened it slowly. Inside, a small leather notebook. Blank pages. And a pen. He nodded toward it. You're meant to be writing. Ava's throat tightened. How do you know? Because you've already started, he said softly. Even if it's only in your mind. She held the notebook like a newborn. Her hands were trembling. You don't have to fix the world, he added. You just have to witness it. That's enough. She blinked hard. Then whispered, you keep showing up. So do you. He stood. No big goodbye. No long speech. Just a glance, full of meaning. Then he turned and walked out. And Ava sat there, notebook in her lap, wondering how someone could give so much. By simply being. That night, Ava didn't turn on the TV. She didn't scroll her phone. Didn't collapse into bed the way she usually did after long Saturdays. She sat at her small kitchen table, lit a single candle and opened the notebook. The leather was smooth under her fingers. The pages clean, untouched. It felt like standing in front of a frozen lake, nervous to step, afraid to crack the surface. She clicked the pen open, stared at the first page, and wrote, Today, a man gave me silence. Not because he had nothing to say, but because he knew I needed it more than words. She stopped, breathed, and kept going. The words didn't rush. They arrived slowly, measured, like guests who take their shoes off at the door. She wrote about the boutique, the faces, the cruelty hidden behind compliments, the exhaustion of pretending to sparkle. She wrote about the first note, the shoes, the coffee, the book, about being seen fully without needing to speak. When she finished, she had filled 3 pages. It was more than she'd written in years. She closed the notebook gently and set it beside her bed. Sleep came easily. For once, her dreams weren't filled with fluorescent lights and endless, "Can I help you?" The next day, she brought the notebook with her. Not to write, just to carry. It sat in her bag like an anchor. The boutique was calm. Rain tapped against the windows. Customers drifted in slowly, softened by the weather. At 12:44 p.m., Ava felt it. That hum. Like the air bending slightly. She turned. He was there. Keanu. Same hoodie. Hair damp from rain. No bag this time. No helmet. Just a quiet presence walking toward the back. She moved without thinking. Brought him tea this time, chamomile, no sugar. He took it, nodding. You wrote, didn't you? Yes. Good. She sat, unsure what to say. He didn't speak either. They watched the rain. At one point she asked, do you ever feel like people only see the version of you they've made up? He smiled. All the time. A beat passed. But the ones who matter, he added. They see past that. They always do. They sat until the tea cooled. Then he stood, placed something on the table, a small bookmark, hand-stitched. He said nothing else. And left. The bookmark read, keep going. The quiet ones always carry the loudest truths. Ava stood in the boutique's staff restroom, staring at herself in the mirror. Her shift had ended 20 minutes ago, but she wasn't ready to leave. She ran cold water over her hands. Looked at her reflection. Noticed it. Not just the tired eyes or the creased collar, but something underneath. Something steadier. Rooted. She pulled the notebook from her bag and flipped to a fresh page. The mirror fogged slightly from the heat in the room. She wrote, I'm not afraid of being quiet anymore. I used to think silence was weakness. Now I know, it's a choice. Kind of power. Someone knocked on the door. Almost done, Ava called softly. She closed the notebook and slipped it away. Outside, the sky had turned a soft lavender. A drizzle hung in the air. She walked home instead of taking the bus. Each step matched her breath. Present. Halfway home, she passed the corner bookstore. A tiny bell jingled as she stepped in. She wandered past the shelves, not looking for anything in particular, just soaking in the hush. Near the back, something caught her eye. A single copy of Letters to the Quiet Ones. The same title Keanu had gifted her. But this one had a new cover. A revised edition. She opened it. Inside, a page marked with a gold paperclip. And handwriting. Not all letters are written on paper. Some are written in the way we look at people. And some in the way we don't look away. She turned sharply. No one near her. No one watching. But she knew. She left the store without buying the book. She didn't need another copy. She had the original. At home, she added the quote to her notebook. Then sat by the window with tea, letting the rain blur the city lights. It was strange, she thought, how a stranger's kindness could become a mirror. One that shows you who you really are. Not the uniform. Not the role. Not the job title. Just you. Ava closed her eyes and whispered, thank you. Even though he wasn't there. Even though she didn't need him to hear it. Because some gratitude isn't spoken to be heard, it's spoken to stay human. Tuesday morning arrived quietly. Gray skies. Wet pavement. A breeze that made umbrellas shake and heels click faster. Ava arrived early. She didn't need to, she just wanted to. The boutique felt softer before opening hours. No customers. No music. Just racks of silent color and the hum of the espresso machine in the back. She liked preparing the space. Straightening scarves. Aligning shoes. Creating calm. At 9:12 a.m., she heard the bell. Not the doorbell. The small silver bell near the front, the one meant for VIP arrivals. Her manager wasn't in yet. Neither was Maya. Ava stepped forward, expecting a courier or a stylist. Keanu. Same calm. Same quiet. But this time, something was different. He wasn't holding a helmet. He wasn't carrying a book. He was holding a small paper bag. Ava froze. Then walked over slowly. You're early, she said. He smiled. So are you. She glanced at the bag. What's this? Something small, he said. For the notebook. She took it gently and opened it. Inside, a fountain pen. Midnight blue ink. Lightweight. Balanced. She exhaled. It's beautiful. It suits you. They stood there, the boutique still empty. Do you ever get tired of being recognized? She asked suddenly. Sometimes, he said. But most people don't recognize me. Not really. They see the idea of me. And you. I like recognizing others. That made her smile. He glanced toward the window. You ever thought of leaving this place? She hesitated. Every day, she whispered. But it's also the only place where someone saw me. Where it started. He nodded. You'll know when it's time, he said. Leaving doesn't mean forgetting. He stepped back. Ava reached out, unsure why. Wait, can I ask you something? He paused. What's your real name? He looked at her. For a long time. Then said, You already know it. And turned to go. As he opened the door, she called softly. Keanu. He looked back. Not surprised. Not startled. Just present. Thank you, she said. This time, for everything. He dipped his head once. And was gone. No notes. No books. Just his name. Spoken by someone who finally understood the weight of being seen. It happened late on a Thursday. The store was nearly closed. The lights had dimmed. Ava was alone, sweeping the display floor one last time. She felt it first, that strange gravity. Like a pause in the air. But it wasn't him this time. It was her. A feeling rising from the center of her chest. Something unspoken pressing upward, demanding to be let out. She dropped the broom, walked to the break room, and opened her notebook. No tea. No music. Just the page. She didn't hesitate. She wrote, The world taught me to wait. To be small. To blend in. To smile when I wanted to scream. But kindness, real kindness, doesn't ask for permission. It just shows up. Sits with you. Hands you a pen. And waits for your voice to arrive. She stared at the words. They didn't come from planning. They came from remembering. From being. And suddenly she knew. This wasn't a journal anymore. It was a book. Or the beginning of one. The next day, Ava emailed herself the entry. Then another. Then another. Within a week, she'd typed 20 pages. She didn't call it a memoir. That felt too big. But it was something. And she owed it to someone who never once asked her to explain. One evening, Maya found her in the break room typing. You writing poems? Ava blinked. Stories. Maya smiled. About customers? About people. Sounds better than inventory reports. She laughed. It felt good to laugh, not as armor, but as air. A week later, a customer came in. Middle-aged. Well-dressed. But his hands trembled when he picked up a tie. Ava didn't hover. Didn't sell. She simply said, Take your time. He blinked, like he hadn't heard that in years. And in his eyes, she saw it. That same ache she once carried. After he left, she wrote about him. Not by name. Just by feeling. There's a kind of silence that holds grief like a cup. And a kind of grace that lets it stay full, without spilling it for anyone else to clean up. That night, she walked home slower than usual. Notebook in her bag. Shoes steady on the sidewalk. The city blinked around her. But she was the one who felt awake. Sunday brought quiet rain. Not the kind that begged for umbrellas, the kind that softened everything. Made car horns gentler. Made strangers speak slower. The boutique opened at noon. Ava was there by 10. She didn't have to be. Her shift started at 11. But the silence before the world arrived had become her favorite part. She unlocked the front door, flicked on the lights, and started polishing the jewelry cases. Her notebook sat on the counter, a new habit she no longer questioned. At 10:47 a.m., she noticed it. A package. Brown paper. No return address. Someone must have left it through the slot in the glass door. Ava picked it up slowly. The weight was familiar. She unwrapped it carefully. Inside, a hardcover book. Bound in dark cloth. No cover image. No title. Just a gold foil stamp on the spine. For the ones who stayed. Her breath caught. She opened to the first page. Blank. Then the next. Also blank. She flipped to the back. One line, handwritten on the inside cover. It's yours now. Ava sat down, heart pounding. The pages were crisp, untouched. A whole book with no words, not yet. She ran her fingers across the paper. Each one a doorway. Each one waiting. She didn't need to ask what he meant. It wasn't a gift. It was a challenge. A blessing. A blank invitation to fill it. Her hands shook, but she smiled. She didn't cry this time. She was past the crying stage. This was something else. That afternoon, between customers, she added the first line to the book. I once thought I had to be invisible to survive. But I was wrong. I had to be quiet, to listen. She wrote slowly. One sentence. Then another. And as she did, something in her shifted. This story, her story, was no longer a secret. It was becoming real. Alive. And somewhere, out in the wide soft rain, she knew he knew. Even without a name. Even without a signature. She wasn't looking for him anymore. Not because she didn't hope. But because she understood now, Keanu didn't appear for applause. He didn't check in. He didn't sign his name in the guest book. He just showed up when someone needed him most. And Ava? She wasn't that girl anymore. She wasn't waiting to be rescued. She was building something. The blank book he left her had grown thick with ink. 30 pages filled. Maybe more. Some stories about the boutique. Some about the people who came through it. And some about him. She never used his name. Only a description. The man who noticed. Each day she wrote a little more. Always with the midnight blue pen. Always with quiet intention. Then, one afternoon, a woman stepped into the store. Older. Elegant. Soft-spoken. She didn't shop, just browsed. Eventually she came to the counter and asked, "Are you Ava?" Ava blinked. "Yes." The woman smiled. "I was told to find you." Ava's heart skipped. "I'm a publisher," the woman continued. "Friend of, let's call him a reader. He passed along something of yours." Ava froze. "My writing?" The woman nodded. "Just a few pages. No name attached. But he said you'd know what to do." Ava opened her mouth. Closed it. The woman slid a business card forward. "We'd like to see more. No pressure. But when you're ready." She turned to go. Stopped at the door. "One more thing," she added with a wink. "He said to tell you, the world's listening now. Say it your way." The bell chimed behind her. Ava stood there for a long time, card in hand. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Instead, she opened her notebook, turned to a blank page, and wrote, "He didn't rescue me. He reminded me I never needed rescuing in the first place." The boutique looked the same. Same mirrored walls. Same curated playlists. Same perfume misted across the entrance like a promise no one believed in. But Ava had changed. She gave notice quietly. No dramatic exit. No speeches. Just a polite letter and a final week of shifts. Her manager blinked in surprise but didn't ask why. She packed her locker slowly. The notebook. The pen. The 3 folded notes. The blank book. All of it fit in her bag. She took one last look at the floor, the racks, the dressing rooms, the back table. Empty. And that was okay. She stepped out into the city. The afternoon sun broke through clouds. Warmth spread across the sidewalk. She didn't rush. Later that evening, she sat at her kitchen table with the blank book open in front of her. She had already titled it, "The Man at the Back Table." Not a biography. Not a fantasy. Just the truth, wrapped in the stillness of real moments. Moments that changed everything. She turned to the first page. Wrote the dedication. For the quiet ones. For the ones they overlook. For the ones who stay anyway. And beneath it in tiny letters. Forget. You never needed to speak loudly. You were heard anyway. That night, she submitted the manuscript. No expectations. No attachments. Just release. A week later, the reply came. They wanted it. They wanted her. The offer was real. Modest. But real. Enough to start over. Enough to believe. At the signing, she sat at a small wooden table in an independent bookstore. A quiet line formed. Some readers recognized her from the boutique. Most didn't. She smiled, signed copies, and asked one thing of each person. "Tell me your favorite moment of quiet." The answers stayed with her. At the end of the night, a staff member handed her an envelope. Left by someone earlier, they said. No name. No return address. Ava opened it slowly. Inside, a single slip of paper. In that now familiar handwriting. The loudest stories start with silence. I just helped you hear your own. Ava folded the note carefully. Slipped it into the back of her book. and smiled. Because some names don't fade, even when they're never spoken again. She thought she was small, replaceable, background, until a stranger walked in and did something rare. He noticed. No cameras, no lectures, just presence. And through his silence, Ava found her voice. Maybe the loudest kindness doesn't speak at all. Maybe it just listens. Maybe it just stays long enough to remind someone they matter.